Since its publication in 1955, a question has lingered over The Lord of the Rings, threatening to undermine the consistency of its world. Is the One Ring truly irresistible? At first glance, the ring corrupts everyone. The thought of it dominates wizards and warriors, and its possession breaks the minds of kings, as well as the very hobbits who seem most fit to bear its burden. But many critics think that the credibility of Tolkien's world is broken by the introduction of a man who is immune to the ring's temptation. When given the opportunity to seize the One Ring, Faramir, brother of Boromir, says that he, quote, would not take this thing if it lay by the highway. Belief in this as a contradiction is what caused the Lord of the Rings filmmakers to change Faramir's character by having their version of him succumb to the ring's temptation.
The ring will go to Gondor.
Because otherwise...
It's death on film. I mean, you've just stripped the ring of all power.
But what looks like a contradiction is actually one of Tolkien's most subtle acts of world building, revealing both the true nature of the ring and its only weakness. But before we can address Faramir, we need to confront what even Tolkien scholar Tom Shippey describes as a serious problem. Quote, the author appears to have presented a set of rules and then reserved the right to exceptions and miracles, residing not in the nature of the characters but in the needs of the plot. But Shippey disarms this potential grenade to the legacy of Tolkien through a single word: addiction. Given how easily it applies to Gollum's relationship with the ring, you might be surprised to learn that the word addictive doesn't appear anywhere in The Lord of the Rings. It wasn't even added to the full Oxford English Dictionary until after Tolkien's death in 1973. But Shippey explains how, quote, during Tolkien's lifetime, these words and the realities behind them are becoming more and more familiar, bringing with them entirely new ideas about the nature and limitations of human will.
Well, the person of my age who lived through one of the most quickly changing periods of known to history, and that the world is a totally different place now.
It isn't miraculous, but it is wildly impressive that Tolkien's fantasy world from the 1950s is imbued with a nuanced understanding of a notoriously hard-to-understand disorder. Like in our own world, addiction in The Lord of the Rings means different things to different characters. In Shippey's own words, addiction explains, quote, why Gandalf tells Frodo not to use the ring. Use always causes addiction. Why Sam, Bilbo, and Frodo nevertheless survive their use of it. Addiction in early stages is curable. And why Boromir succumbs to the ring without handling it. Use has to be preceded by desire. But unlike these other characters, Faramir is never even tempted by what is supposed to be the most corruptive object in existence, rejecting the ring simply because he, quote, had no lure or desire to do other than I have done. How is this not a huge contradiction to Tolkien's world building? Well, one difference between The Lord of the Rings and its imitators is that Tolkien doesn't drop answers to these kinds of questions through exposition dumps. Instead, they're found by reading between the lines of dialogue. The ring often corrupts the hearts of men by manipulating their sense of pride, but Faramir's backstory makes him uniquely aware of pride's corruptibility. Pride is at the source of his father using the Palantir to, quote, search even the mind of the enemy, wrestling with him. Thus, pride increased in Denethor together with despair. This weakness extends to his brother Boromir, who is, quote, like Denethor in face and pride. And despite Faramir's love for his brother, he tells Frodo that he, quote, can well believe that Boromir the proud and fearless might desire such a thing and be allured by it. Only moments before rejecting the ring, Faramir learns from Sam that his suspicion is correct. Boromir betrayed the Fellowship because his pride caused him to misguidedly say,
give Gondor the weapon of the enemy. Let us use it against him.
I ask only for the strength to defend my peace.
It could have been mine. It should be mine. Give it to me.
Witnessing the addiction that ravaged his family makes Faramir someone who, metaphorically speaking, refuses to take the first sip. Yeah, I see the irony. Tom Shippey's favorite word helps to resolve what would otherwise be an unresolvable problem. Speaking about Faramir, he writes that, quote, a wise person is capable of stifling the desire to become addicted, though no wisdom will stifle addiction once contracted. In other words, the ring is not irresistible, but if used, its effects are irreversible. Faramir himself explains why he's able to resist the ring, and from another character it might come across as a platitude, but because of his unique backstory, Tolkien truly justifies Faramir's ability to say that he is, quote, wise enough to know that there are some perils from which a man must flee. The ring's only weakness is a person who accepts their own corruptibility. Sauron's confidence that everyone is as proud and power-hungry as himself is why he never placed guards outside Mount Doom.
The ring remains hidden. should seek to destroy it has not yet entered their darkest dreams.
Tolkien's realistic depiction of human behaviors and disorders proves that, in the words of Tom Shippey, quote, Tolkien thought more deeply than his critics have ever recognized about just those issues he is commonly alleged to ignore. The processes of temptation, the complex nature of good and evil, and the relationship between reality and our fallible perception of it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it'd mean a lot if you subscribe for more.